Hi guys, my name is Dory and this channel is all about hiking tips and tricks, how to select your gear and everything you need to know about hiking. Today I'm gonna address 4 beginner mistakes that I see a lot of people make when they just start hiking. Hopefully by the end of this video you have a little bit of a clue about these 4 mistakes and how not to make them. So the first thing I see a lot of people do is packing too heavy, okay? So this might sound so straightforward, but every time I go on a hike, I see people with 20-kilo bags, and even though I was starting out the same way, I think there's a lot of things that you can do to actually lighten your load so that your pack is not as heavy as it would be. The most important thing you need to do is second guess every item that you put in your pack. I usually make 3 piles: a must-have, a maybe, and a I actually don't need it. Okay, so those are the luxury items. But then from the maybe and the don't really need it pile, I just select the things that I really want in there, and after I've done that I do the same again until I've figured out what I actually need to take on this hike. Of course we're gonna go over how to pack your bag and what you need to pay attention to when you go and pack your bag for hiking in a different video, but second guess every item that you put in your bag and ask yourself the question, do I really need it? So the second thing I hear a lot of people do, and people think that when you want to go lightweight hiking and when you want to go hiking, yes, you need hiking gear, but that doesn't mean that you have to go bankrupt just from buying ultralight or lightweight gear. Okay, so it's really important that you don't break the bank trying to go ultralight, because there's items that you can replace over time, and what I would do is I would set a budget and gradually build up your equipment. But the other option is to find some less expensive gear, and they might be a little bit heavier, but you know what, you're not going to break the bank trying to go ultralight. Then when I first started hiking, I was so overwhelmed by all the ultralight options, and you know what, the more I started researching, the more I wanted everything and everything ultralight. But then I realized, you know, it's impossible. It was impossible for me at the time to buy everything at the same time. So I set myself a budget and I looked at what is the most important item that I need right now. And for me, that was my tent. So back in the day, then I bought a really good lightweight hiking tent. And that was like the first item of my collection. The next thing was a sleeping bag. And also, of course, important is your backpack. So those are usually the items that also weigh the most. But when it comes to, you know, clothes or accessories, you know, these things can be expensive when you try and go ultralight, but they're not a must for when you start hiking. Okay, so the third thing that I can tell you is, and that is a mistake that I made and it was embarrassing. Okay, so always test the equipment that you bring before you go. So this again goes hand in hand with, you know, don't pack too heavy and second guess every item that's in your backpack, because you have to know how to use everything that's in your pack. I'm talking about, for example, about your tent. Know how to set up your tent before you go, because it might be embarrassing if you're trying for half an hour to set up your tent and you might be missing a few pieces or something like that. And another example is trekking poles. Okay, if you're thinking about bringing trekking poles, just know in advance that you're gonna use it and they're not gonna be an accessory and extra weight. You know, see how you go with them and see if you really want to use them or not. Other gadgets as well might be just unnecessary, but they're even more unnecessary when you don't know how to use them. And then the fourth beginner mistake is a mistake that we all make, and you know, whether you're gonna go hiking, whether you're gonna listen to me or not, it might be that you're still gonna make this mistake, but that is, don't be too ambitious. A lot of hikers, whether they're beginning or advanced, they're overly ambitious about the hike that they're about to set off on. And while it's good to have goals, it's very important to hike your own hike and to know what your limits are. So listen to your body, not only to prevent injury, but also it will prevent you from quitting your hike. By properly knowing the conditions that you're going to hike in and by properly planning your hike, you can actually avoid being too ambitious. Well, that doesn't always work for me, because people that will meet me on trail will know that my plans don't always seem realistic. But you know what, I try. The advantage for me is that I often go solo. That does mean that I can change my plans according to what is viable for me. The most important thing is hike your own hike. If you're hiking with someone, just make sure you know both of your fitness levels and you measure it up. Another thing about underestimating or overestimating your hike is a lot of people underestimate how many calories they actually burn during the hike, and they don't take enough food. So I've heard a lot of stories about people losing so much weight even though they were already skinny, but that's just because they underestimated the calorie intake that they needed for their hike. You know, just make sure that you listen to your body and rearrange your hike if you need to, because otherwise it's going to be very tempting to give up. And then I have a bonus tip for you guys, because I've talked about planning and preparation, and while it's really good to prepare yourself for your hike, it is also not so good to over prepare, okay? I see a lot of people who are on their first multi-day hike and they have a schedule like, okay, that's where we're gonna be for lunch and all that stuff. Yeah, really good, but what if it changes, you know? Then all of a sudden you're totally out of line with your planning. So to overcome the over planning or over preparing for your hike, I would just say make a few itineraries so you can definitely change your plans if you need to, and it will also give you a bit more flexibility when you're being too ambitious and you want to go a little bit slower or even faster. Alright, so this was a very short video about the 4 or 5 backpacking mistakes that I see a lot of people make, and honestly I hope you like this video. If you do, please give it a like, because it really helps YouTube pick up my videos and show it to other people. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Okay, and I just realized that I'm filming this in front of a dead tree, and happy days.